Welcome back to NT Coins World, the ultimate destination for passionate collectors, rare coin hunters, and those seeking the hidden treasures inside pocket change. In today's video, we dive into the top 5 rare and valuable Washington quarter dollar coins that have stunned collectors with their scarcity, design quirks, historical value, and jaw-dropping auction prices. Let's begin with a coin that has created waves in the numismatic community. For decades, the 1969 Washington quarter dollar in fine condition. The 1969 Washington quarter is more than just another coin in your change jar. It holds a distinct place in U.S. coinage history, marking a transitional period of U.S. currency following the switch away from 90% silver content. In 1965, while the 1969 quarter was produced without silver and struck in a copper-nickel clad composition, it has fascinated collectors for reasons that go far beyond just its metal content. Struck at 3 mints Philadelphia No Mint Mark, Denver D, and San Francisco S, each version holds its own interest. However, it is the rare varieties and era coins of the 1969 quarter that have turned this ordinary-looking piece into an object of numismatic desire. The Philadelphia Mint produced approximately 176,000 to 112 Washington quarters in 1969. At first glance, that may not sound rare. But rarity in the coin world isn't just about low mintage, it's about survival in mint condition, production anomalies, and unique variants. One of the most exciting aspects of the 1969 Washington quarter is the rare double die obverse error, commonly referred to as 1969 DDO double die obverse. This specific variety displays strong doubling on key inscriptions, such as Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date 1969, unlike more subtle double dies from other years. The doubling on this coin is prominent and easily visible to the naked eye or with minimal magnification. This error is among the rarest and most valuable Washington quarter varieties ever discovered. To date, only a few certified examples have surfaced, making this coin one of the most aggressively sought after by era collectors. In fact, examples of the 1969 DDO in higher grades, such as Mint State 64 or better, have fetched up to $35,000 to $50,000 at auction. Even those in fine condition, like the one we're focusing on today, can command prices of $2,000 to $5,000, depending on the strength of the doubling and eye appeal. The value spikes further if the coin has full rims, sharp lettering, and consistent patina without harsh cleaning or damage. Another thing that makes this coin intriguing is the era of its production. The late 1960s were marked by a dramatic shift in U.S. coinage policy. After the Coinage Act of 1965 eliminated silver from circulating quarters and dimes, the government began to face public resistance. Coin hoarding was at its peak, and Americans were still adjusting to the new clad coins. As a result, the attention to quality at the mints occasionally faltered, opening up the door for fascinating die errors and variations like the 1969 DDO. Additionally, collectors have noted various strike anomalies on 1969 quarters, including off-center strikes, broad strikes, and clipped plankets. While these errors are typically worth between $50 to $500, a dramatic error paired with a high-grade specimen could easily breach the $1,000 mark, especially when certified by top grading agencies like PCGS or NGC. Let's not forget the collector interest behind this coin. The 1969 Washington quarter often flies under the radar compared to more famous dates. But for serious quarter collectors or error enthusiasts, it represents a pinnacle find because of its relatively high mintage and ordinary appearance. At first glance, it often hides in plain sight. That makes the hunt even more thrilling. Imagine spotting a double die or a rare error while examining rolls of circulated coins or estate finds. Condition also plays a pivotal role in the coin's market value. A 1969 Washington quarter in fine condition usually shows moderate wear on Washington's hair, with visible details but light flattening. The reverse may exhibit wear on the eagle's wings and breast feathers. However, if the coin still has solid luster, no corrosion, and presents a clear error, collectors won't hesitate to invest heavily. Over the years, several impressive sales have added to the mystique of this coin. For example, one graded specimen of the 1969 DDO in almost uncirculated condition was sold by Heritage Auctions for over $40,000, while lower graded but authentic examples still make headlines when they reach the market. With such strong collector interest and very few examples graded, the value of these coins continues to climb as new collectors enter the hobby. and competition increases. In summary, the 1969 Washington quarter in fine condition holds serious potential not because of its metal composition or face value, but because of the extraordinary double die varieties, die errors, and the historical period it represents. If you find one of these coins in your collection, especially one showing doubling on the obverse or another striking error, it's absolutely worth getting it authenticated. Even without rare varieties, a well-preserved 1969 quarter in fine condition can still fetch a respectable $10 to $25. But if it turns out to be one of the coveted DDOs or error specimens, you could be looking at thousands of dollars in value. The 1971 Washington quarter dollar may not appear to be a standout at first glance, but when you dive deep into its history, production details, and rare error varieties, it quickly becomes a vital piece in the collector's treasure map. The 1971 Washington quarter was struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with the Philadelphia coins carrying no mint mark, as was standard for that period. From a mintage perspective, the numbers are significant. The Philadelphia mint produced approximately 109.3 million quarters, while the Denver mint struck around 158.6 million. Together, that's over 367 million coins, which might make one wonder how could any 1971 quarter be rare or valuable? The answer lies in a combination of condition rarity, unexpected production errors, and low-quality strikes typical of early 1970s clad coinage. In the early 70s, the U.S. Mint was still refining the process of clad coin production. The transition away from silver coinage was only a few years old, and many of the coins produced in this period suffered from weak strikes, planket flaws, and die fatigue. This makes coins with sharp details, strong rims, and full legends increasingly rare, especially in circulated or fine condition. What sets the 1971 quarter apart for serious collectors is the existence of rare and valuable error coins, including off-metal strikes, double dies, and clipped plankets. One of the most exciting varieties from this year is the 1971 off-metal error, where a quarter was mistakenly struck on a dime planket or even a foreign coin blank. These wrong planket errors typically weigh less than the normal 5.67 grams of a quarter and often exhibit weak or missing rims and incomplete details. A 1971 quarter struck on a dime planket recently sold for over $4,000 at auction. Another fascinating and highly collectible variety is the double die obverse or reverse DDO, DDR. While not as dramatic as the 1969 DDO, some 1971 quarters show noticeable doubling on the date, the motto "In God We Trust," or the word liberty. The doubling might appear on letters or numbers with a slight shadow or thickness when examined under magnification. These coins, especially when graded by PCGS or NGC, can fetch anywhere from $150 to $2,500, depending on condition and strength of the doubling, even in fine condition. The 1971 quarter holds value if an error or die variety is present. A fine condition coin with a mild double die can easily bring to $100 to $400, while more dramatic examples push into the four-figure territory. Regular 1971 quarters in fine circulated condition, with no error, usually hold modest value around $5 to $15, but their worth increases sharply when paired with mint state characteristics or certified anomalies. Let's talk about broad strikes and clipped plankets, two additional error types that make 1971 quarters highly desirable. Broad strike errors occur when the coin is struck outside of the collar that normally shapes the rim, resulting in a flatter, wider appearance with a distorted edge. Clipped plankets result in a coin with a portion of the metal blank visibly missing. Both types are relatively uncommon and can fetch $100 to $600, depending on severity and preservation. But what about high-grade examples? In mint state condition, especially MS65 and higher, the 1971 Washington quarter becomes dramatically more valuable. Because of weak strikes and mass production, finding a flawless, lustrous coin from this year is a real challenge. PCGS population reports indicate that fewer than a few hundred examples have been certified above MS66. One stunning MS67 specimen sold for over $3,000. A remarkable return for a coin that originally had a face value of just 25 cents. The historical context behind the 1971 quarter also adds an extra layer of intrigue. The early 70s were a time of significant inflation, economic uncertainty, and transition for American coinage. The Eisenhower dollar debuted that year, reshaping U.S. coinage in a big way. Meanwhile, quarters were becoming workhorses of everyday transactions, frequently used, heavily circulated, and rarely preserved. As a result, few high-quality or error-free examples were saved, which now creates opportunity for collectors who can spot rarity where others see ordinary. In fine condition, a 1971 quarter will show visible wear on the high points of Washington's hair, as well as some smoothing on the eagle's breast and wingtips on the reverse. However, the real key for collectors is the presence of strong devices, visible mint errors, and surfaces that haven't been harshly cleaned or damaged. Even a coin with moderate wear can be worth hundreds if it showcases a recognized error. From a collector's standpoint, the 1971 Washington quarter is a coin that rewards sharp eyes and numismatic knowledge. It's the kind of piece that can lie unnoticed in a coin roll or old coin jar for years before being identified for its true value. The thrill of discovering a rare error, whether a double die, off-metal strike, or broad strike, gives this coin a mystique that few modern quarters can match. As we close the book on the 1971 Washington quarter and its hidden treasures, one thing is clear: there's far more value in these everyday coins than meets the eye. This isn't just pocket change, it's historical currency with the potential to be worth thousands. The 1973 Washington quarter dollar. Though it's a coin most people have seen in their everyday change, at some point, its true significance becomes clear only to those who take a deeper look into the complexities of minting, error varieties, and the collector market. In fine condition, this particular issue may not immediately seem extraordinary, but under the right circumstances, it can become a coin worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The 1973 Washington quarter was minted at the primary locations: the Philadelphia Mint, which struck coins without a mint mark, and the Denver Mint, which used the familiar D mint mark. Combined, these two mints produced well over 370 million quarters, with approximately 346.5 million from Philadelphia and 130.9 million from Denver. These are massive numbers by any standard, which is precisely why most people overlook this coin. But don't let the high mintage fool you. Value isn't always in quantity. It's in the rarity of condition and anomalies. This coin is part of the copper-nickel clad series that replaced silver quarters after 1964. And like most coins from the early 1970s, its production was plagued by several technical challenges. The mint facilities were under pressure to produce massive quantities quickly, often leading to die degradation, weak strikes, and quality control issues. This created the perfect environment for collectible errors and hard-to-find high-grade examples. One of the most sought-after aspects of the 1973 Washington quarter is its range of error coins, some of which have fetched impressive sums at auction. Among these, the most notable are double die errors, off-center strikes, broad strikes, and strikes on wrong plankets. The most dramatic examples, such as a 1973 quarter struck on a nickel or a foreign coin blank, are incredibly rare. In fact, one verified example of a 1973 quarter struck on a planket intended for a U.S. dime recently sold for nearly $4,000 to $100, and that wasn't even in uncirculated condition. The double die obverse DDO varieties are another captivating category for collectors, although not as prominent or well known as the 1969 or 1970s DDOs. 1973 quarters with DDOs still display clear doubling on the words "Liberty, in God We Trust," and even on the date itself. While these errors are subtle, skilled collectors with a good eye and a 10x magnifying glass have the potential to uncover treasures hiding in plain sight. Fine condition DDO examples from 1973 can command $150 to $800, while higher grade coins can reach $2,000 to $3,500, depending on clarity and certification. Let's not forget about clipped plankets, a production anomaly in which part of the coin's blank is missing before the strike occurs. These coins exhibit a visible curved or straight bite taken from one edge and are instantly recognizable even to the casual observer. A clipped planket error from 1973 in fine condition can range from $75 to $150, and if paired with another error like an off-center strike or misaligned die, the value can soar into the 4-digit range. Now, regarding regular circulation strikes in fine condition with no errors or varieties, the value remains modest, generally around $1 to $5, depending on eye appeal and surface integrity. However, when we begin to examine condition rarity, the story changes. Finding a 1973 quarter with sharp rims, full details, and Washington's hair And feather definition on the eagle's reverse in grades MS66 or higher is incredibly rare. Coins of this caliber are few and far between due to widespread circulation, storage in poor conditions, and general handling over the decades. In fact, certified mint state 67 examples of the 1973 quarter have sold for more than $1,000 to $1.500 at major auction houses like Heritage and Stack's Bowers. Even though the coin itself isn't made of silver and lacks a key date mintage, its value is driven by survival scarcity in top grades and the demand from registry set builders who need the best possible examples to complete their collections. Let's take a moment to discuss the appeal this coin holds for modern collectors. Because it is relatively young in the coin collecting timeline, many people still overlook the 1973 quarter as common. But this perception is what creates opportunity. Seasoned collectors know that modern errors and condition rarities are becoming more desirable each year, especially as more people enter the hobby and competition rises for standout examples. Also, with increasing awareness driven by online marketplaces and coin forums, 1973 errors are starting to get the spotlight they deserve. The eagle reverse design, still in use at the time, adds another layer of historical interest. Designed by John Flanagan and first used in 1932, the image of the heraldic eagle clutching arrows above olive branches is both iconic and symbolic. By 1973, the mint had not yet begun producing the bicentennial reverse, which would come 3 years later. As a result, the 1973 design reflects the last period of classic Washington quarters before the changes of the mid-1970s and beyond, giving it a nostalgic allure. From a grading standpoint, a coin in fine condition will show moderate wear on the high points, including the curls of Washington's hair, his cheekbone, and the eagle's feathers. The rims might be a little soft, but inscriptions should remain legible. Still, the market value of such a coin can jump considerably if there's an accompanying error or if the coin retains good eye appeal and toning. Let's not overlook a final category of collector excitement: misaligned dies and die cracks. These lesser-known varieties create distortion in the legends or raised ridges of metal across the surface of the coin. While not always dramatic, they are fascinating for specialists and have sold for $50 to $300 depending on the severity and size of the anomaly. These small imperfections may have once been discarded, but in today's detailed and competitive collector environment, they're seen as prize finds. As we wrap up the segment on the 1973 Washington quarter dollar, it's clear that this coin offers far more than most people realize, whether it's in the form of a rare double die, an off-metal strike, or a sharply graded example. The potential value is there, just waiting to be uncovered by the right collector. It is this element of mystery, this thrill of the hunt, that keeps the 1973 quarter alive in the minds of serious numismatists. So if you come across a 1973 quarter in your change or coin collection, take a second look, examine it carefully, check for weight, doubling, and striking errors. What may appear as a common coin could, in fact, be one of the most valuable pieces in your collection. Look at the 1973 P. Washington quarter, a coin that hails from the Philadelphia Mint, the origin of some of the most quietly rare and valuable clad-era quarters in modern U.S. coinage. The P Mint mark was not physically included on Philadelphia struck coins during this period, so these coins appear without a mint mark. But make no mistake, these quarters are distinct, important, and for those who know what to look for, potentially very profitable. The 1973 P quarter was part of a massive production run. Over 346,924 zero coins were minted at Philadelphia. While this number initially appears overwhelming and might suggest commonality, experienced collectors understand that mintage volume doesn't always reflect true rarity. In fact, this massive output came at the cost of consistent striking quality, giving rise to a surprisingly low survival rate in pristine or even lightly circulated condition, and creating the perfect environment for minting errors that are now highly desirable. Let's begin with what makes the 1973 P. Washington quarter exceptional. The first point is die quality and strike weakness, which plagued many Philadelphia mint coins during the early 1970s. Dies were often used well beyond their optimal lifespan, resulting in flat devices, mushy details, and die fatigue, especially noticeable on Washington's hair curls and the eagle's breast feathers. A 1973 P quarter in fine condition will show moderate wear, yes, but if it also features a misaligned strike, doubling, or planket issues, its value can increase exponentially. Perhaps the most captivating aspect of the 1973 P quarter is the documented presence of double die, obverse DDO varieties, although less publicized than some other double dies from the Washington quarter series. There are known examples of doubling on Liberty, In God We Trust, and even the digits in 1973. These errors are extremely scarce and difficult to find, especially in circulated condition. A certified DDO example from 1973 to P in high grade has reached upwards of $3.00 to $5,000 at auction, while one in fine condition if authenticated can command prices from $300 to $900, depending on the doubling's clarity and the coin's overall eye appeal. Another category of collector interest involves off-metal errors, particularly coins struck on foreign blankets, or blanks intended for dimes or nickels. These off-metal errors result in a quarter that may be undersized, underweight, or improperly centered, often showing weak detail and a different coloration due to metal content. Verified 1973 P quarters struck on dime blankets have sold for $2,000 to $4,500, and even coins in lower grades can fetch over $1,000 if the anomaly is dramatic and well preserved. Also worth noting are broad strikes, a striking error where the coin is struck without the collar that normally holds it in place, resulting in a flattened, out-of-round appearance. Broad-struck 1973 P quarters in fine condition can fetch $75 to $250, and higher if paired with another anomaly. Similarly, clipped blankets, where a portion of the blank is missing before the strike, also appear in the 1973 P series and are known to bring in $100 to $300 depending on the severity of the clip and the coin's condition. Beyond errors, we must consider condition rarity a cornerstone of modern coin valuation. While hundreds of millions of 1973 P quarters were struck, very few remain in high-end mint state condition, and virtually none are available in MS67 or above. The Philadelphia Mint was not known for striking coins with great precision during this period, and coins were distributed rapidly into circulation. As a result, clean, sharply struck examples are few and far between. Even though your coin is in fine condition, a level of moderate circulation, it can still draw collector interest if it exhibits strong details, natural patina, and no signs of cleaning or damage. Let's turn our focus to the auction market, where data can show the surprising strength behind this coin. In 2021, a 1973 P quarter graded MS67 by PCGS with full luster and clean field sold for a staggering $640. Even an MS66 example, if it boasts exceptional strike quality and eye appeal, can fetch between $300 and $800, and these values are only trending upward. Why? Because registry set builders, the most competitive segment of coin collectors, are always looking for coins with the highest known grades for each year in mint. In years where top examples are limited, even coins that appear ordinary in design or composition can become extremely valuable. Let's also not forget about die cracks, die chips, and strike-throughs, minor anomalies that can also enhance the value of a 1973 P quarter. While not as widely publicized as other errors, these varieties add personality and uniqueness to a coin, and some collectors specialize in building entire collections based on these flaws. A strong die crack running across Washington's neck, or a retained strike-through that interrupts part of the lettering could turn a $5 coin into a $150 to $400 item if authenticated. The coin's design, of course, remains the classic work of John Flanagan, originally introduced in 1932. By 1973, the Washington quarter had become an American institution, its design instantly recognizable, and its imagery woven into the fabric of daily life. However, 1973 also marked the calm before the storm. The bicentennial quarters were just 2 years away, and the mint was beginning to prepare for one of the biggest redesigns in modern coinage. As a result, the 1973 P is part of the final chapter of pre-bicentennial quarter issues, giving it added nostalgic and historical value. In fine condition, a typical 1973 P quarter will show wear on the cheekbone, jawline, and curls of Washington's hair. On the reverse, you'll see flattening of the eagle's wings and breast. The rims may be slightly worn, but all inscriptions remain readable on the surface. It's a familiar coin, but when you spot doubling, a clipped blanket, or some minting flaw that sets it apart, the ordinary becomes exceptional. So what's the real-world takeaway for collectors? The 1973 P Washington quarter teaches us that rarity often hides in plain sight. With the right knowledge, patience, and attention to Detail, even a circulated coin with a common appearance, can turn into a remarkable investment. Keep in mind that values fluctuate with market demand, grading quality, and certification. But the trend is clear. Error coins and high-quality clad quarters are on the rise. If you happen to discover a 1973p quarter in your collection, take a close look, weigh it, examine the edges, look for doubling, cracks, or off-center strikes. These are the clues that turn change into treasure and stories into legacies. As we conclude our countdown of the top 5 rare and valuable Washington quarter dollar coins, we arrive at the often underestimated, yet incredibly fascinating 1977 Washington quarter dollar apiece. That looks ordinary at first glance but holds considerable potential for collectors who know what to look for. Struck over for decades ago, this quarter is one of those coins that many people unknowingly pass around in daily transactions, never realizing its numismatic secrets and the values it can command. Under the right conditions, the 1977 Washington quarter was minted at the primary U.S. facilities, the Philadelphia Mint no mint mark, and the Denver Mint with a D mint mark. Between these two, production numbers were immense. The Philadelphia Mint struck for 168,556,000 coins, while Denver added another to 156,524,978. With more than 725 million total coins entering circulation, one might assume the 1977 quarter is too common to be worth much. However, once again, the real value emerges not from the sheer quantity, but from the rarity of specific varieties, minting errors, and high-grade examples. Let's start with the biggest driver of value for the 1977 quarter, error coins. A number of dramatic and desirable errors have been discovered on 1977 Washington quarters, making them sought-after items at auctions and among error specialists. One of the most eye-catching is the off-metal strike, particularly quarters struck on dime plankets. These errors result in an undersized, lightweight coin with weak or missing design elements. Collectors have paid anywhere from $1,500 to $4,000 for such examples, especially when authenticated by PCGS or NGC. Another fascinating and extremely scarce variety is the double die obverse DDO. In this type of error, doubling occurs during the die creation process, producing a ghosted or shadowed effect on certain inscriptions. For the 1977 quarter, subtle doubling has been documented on the words "Liberty" and "God We Trust," and occasionally on the numerals in the date. While not as bold as the legendary 1969 DDO, a confirmed 1977 DDO can still bring to $100 to $1.00 and find of very fine grades, and potentially $3,000 or more in uncirculated condition depending on strength of doubling and clarity. Then there are the broad strikes, off-center strikes, and clipped plankets error types that always draw attention at coin shows and auctions. A 1977 quarter that's off-center by 15 to 20% with a visible date can be valued at $250 to $700, especially if the coin is otherwise problem-free. Clipped plankets are equally compelling, especially when the clip is large and clean. Even in fine condition, a dramatic clip can command $100 to $350 or higher with multiple clips or additional errors. The real surprise, however, is in the high-grade condition scarcity of the 1977 quarter. Despite its high mintage, very few coins were struck with exceptional sharpness or preserved with care. Most entered circulation quickly and suffered from soft strikes, worn dies, and aggressive wear that makes locating a sharply detailed, lustrous 1977 quarter an intense challenge. In fact, as of recent population reports, PCGS has graded fewer than 15 coins in MS67, making it one of the rarest clad quarters from the 70s in that grade. The auction records back this up. In 2021, a pristine MS67 1977 Washington quarter sold for an eye-popping $2,880. That's nearly 11,000 times its face value, proving that registry set builders and condition-focused collectors are willing to pay top dollar for the best of the best. Even coins graded MS66 regularly sell for $150 to $400, which is a strong value for a modern clad quarter. And it's not just about the grade toning and eye appeal matter, too. A 1977 quarter with rainbow toning or a satiny frost can bring a premium even in slightly lower grades. These features are considered natural artwork by some collectors, especially when combined with a rare variety or error. From a design perspective, The 1977 Washington quarter continues the use of John Flanagan's classic portrait of George Washington on the obverse and the heraldic eagle on the reverse. These designs, though familiar, serve as the historical backbone of American coinage, with the eagle symbolizing strength and preparedness, clutching arrows and perched over olive branches. For collectors, this continuity of design adds appeal, especially since this version of the quarter would be replaced just 2 years later by the bicentennial redesign in 1975-1976 and eventually phased out by the 50-state quarters program in 1999. Now, let's talk about the condition known as find the state your 1977 quarter is in. In this grade, the coin shows clear signs of wear from circulation, but still retains legibility and design elements. Washington's cheek and hair will exhibit flattening, and the eagle's wings and body will be visibly worn. However, a coin in fine condition with even a moderate error or variety can become highly valuable. For example, a clipped Planket quarter from 1977 in fine condition recently sold for $210, while a mild DDO in similar shape fetched just over $500. Another area to explore is strike-through errors, which occur when debris or foreign material is pressed between the die and Planket during striking. This results in unusual grooves, textures, or voids on the coin surface. Though these errors can sometimes be subtle, well-preserved strike-throughs can sell for $100 to $500, especially if the anomaly is well-positioned and eye-catching. Beyond error collectors, registry builders also target coins like the 1977 quarter, because they form a crucial link in any complete Washington quarter set. With the increasing popularity of collecting by date and mint, even coins once thought to be too new or too common are seeing price increases. As collectors chase quality, this trend has been reinforced by social media coin communities and major auction houses, both of which spotlight the growing market for clad-era coins. Finally, it's worth mentioning that the 1977 quarter is part of a generation of U.S. coinage that is aging into its 5th decade. As more of these coins disappear into private collections, become damaged, or are lost to time, the remaining high-quality and error specimens naturally increase in desirability and value. Coins that were once ignored are now considered prime hunting grounds for modern treasure seekers. So if you've got a 1977 Washington quarter in fine condition, don't dismiss it. Look closer. Weigh it. Examine it for doubling, off-center strikes, or Planket anomalies. Check the rims. Observe the surface with a jeweler's loupe. A slight imperfection or detail may be the difference between a 25-cent coin and a $3,000 collectible. And with that, we conclude our journey through the top 5 rare and valuable Washington quarter dollar coins, from the shockingly rare 1969 DDO to the collectible errors of 1971, the subtle complexities of 1973, the elusive perfection of the 1973P, and the unexpected gold mine hiding in the 1977 quarter. These coins remind us why numismatics is more than just a hobby. It's a discovery of history, art, and sometimes cold, hard cash. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to NT Coins World for more thrilling coin breakdowns, value guides, and collecting secrets. And remember, sometimes the most valuable coins are the ones sitting quietly in your pocket.